Good morning, India, and welcome to 𝗤𝗏𝗿 and P Gurus. And we are going to go into North Korea and follow Z, who's there. And as per this, as you can see in this caricature, the question is Z going to North Korea to admonish Kim Jong Un, who's hiding his missiles, or is it something else? And that's what we're going to discuss today. And to discuss this, I have with me Sree Iyer ji. Namaskaram and welcome to 𝗤𝗏𝗿 once again, sir.
Namaskaram, sir, and good morning, India. And today we are with General Shankar hosting it, sir. Over to you.
Yeah, before I take off and everything, give me your view of what North Korea is all about and how do you see Xi Jinping's visit? Because after that, I'm going to unravel a fascinating story which I've at least learned over the past 48 hours. Over to you.
Yes, indeed. And viewers, if you think about when Cold War started, after Second World War, see, 3/4 of Hitler's forces were fighting the Russians. Only 1/4 was fighting the Allied forces. And when they finally won, the Russians came marching into Berlin. And there are horror stories about, they had these people called Cossacks. Cossacks were part of the Russian army, but they came riding on their donkeys and their horsebacks. They were so backwards in terms of technology that they would flush small toilets, small potatoes on the first floor toilet, flush it, and run down to the bottom toilet to see if the thing has come down there. That is the kind of, that's where it starts. The Cold War starts at that point of time. First few years in Berlin was terrible. Why am I saying all these things? Next, what happened was United States had used the atom bomb to stop the war in Japan. And they were flush with that thing that nobody can beat us. We have the bomb, nobody else does. It turns out that, well, this is the connecting of the dots, viewers. How did Russia get the bomb, right? So the core technology was in Germany. That's where, it is supposed to have come out of there. And Russia had a small part of Germany also, German engineers. But human psychology is that if somebody has already done it, let me see if I can get my hands on that. Why? I know how to get there, but there are 20 steps involved. I want to skip all these and go to the 20th step. So it is believed that early 50s, somehow they snuck out the drawings for the atom bomb from a place called Los Alamos Labs in New Mexico. And so the Soviets had that. I don't think the Americans knew that the Soviets had already taken the designs. Again, I'm connecting the dots. It is extremely possible that Soviets did their own atom bomb, but why I'm saying all this? I'm saying this because United States went into Korea with the conviction that we have the atom bomb, nobody dare stop us. At that point of time, Korea was under the umbrella of Russia, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Somehow Russia managed. So you're going to fill up, take it from there.
Yeah, okay. Let me tell you, this area is almost often the most misunderstood and least understood, both misunderstood and least understood. And actually, a lot of world politics revolves around this area. The connections are fascinating and the intricacies are intriguing. I mean, I will put it this way. What's happening in India, Pakistan, China, this triangle which we are most concerned about in India, are actually juvenile in front of what's happening in the Korean Peninsula. And we don't understand it. Today we'll understand it. And everyone thinks that, Xi Jinping has now gone to Korea. It's already there. Yesterday he reached there. And he's talking of a lips and teeth kind of a relationship. That's the relationship which has been defined between China and Korea. The Chinese lips and the Korean teeth. No, it's the Korean teeth and the Chinese lips. That's the kind of a relationship they have, or one of the two, lips and teeth relationship. They're supposed to be very strong, and Korea is supposed to be impoverished. Yes, it is. And China is the only route into Korea, North Korea, and all that. This is the understanding. And North Korea is an impoverished, isolated, hermit state which proliferates missile technology, this, that, all that. So we're going to open up ourselves to certain new things. I wouldn't say new things, certain old things which we're going to learn anew. And that's what I'm going to do today and go. Look, this came out 2 days back. The article very clearly, North Korea has said our nuclear program is irreversible. And they put this out 1 day before Xi Jinping went to North Korea. And who puts it out? Kim Jong Un's sister, who's now taking center stage. She's the number 2 in Korea. And she puts it out. And what does it all involve? She says, look, the trilateral talks which are taking place between US, Japan, and South Korea are detrimental to us. So we have to reinforce our, status as a nuclear armed state. That's the first thing that she said. And she's very clearly said that I will exponentially strengthen the country's nuclear arsenal. We have no intention of scaling back its nuclear ambitions. Our nuclear ambitions will go soaring high. And she says this just 1 day before Xi Jinping goes there. And it is not as if this has not come out earlier. This has come out earlier also. In fact, Xi Jinping has rushed to, North Korea only for this. What's more interesting? North Korea why is North Korea strong with its nuclear development and all? It has got uranium mines. It has developed uranium. It has got its own uranium mines. In fact, it might be selling uranium, right? And they have 3 mines in North Korea, and they have developed 3 nuclear enrichment facilities also. And their capacity to produce nuclear material has doubled over the past 5 years. Just 5 years, they have doubled it. See the exponential rise of the North Korean capability. Now, actually, North Korea is sending a signal to US and to China about their capability and what it is going. Of course, Japan and South Korea are also in the deal. Now, what North Korea has seen that, look, if US wants to halt Iran's nuclear program and cap it, will US do it to us? So there is no way. Now they're doing whatever they want to go beyond that pale. There's no question. And they already have about 50 nuclear warheads. And now they're progressing. If the way they go, progressing with what they have, they will have 70 to 90 nuclear warheads shortly. When I say shortly, it could be 4, 5, 6 years. So you have to see this major thing in the light of the fact that China is also increasing its nuclear arsenal. And here you have North Korea, which is increasing its nuclear arsenal and everything. And what are the implications of this and everything? And this is what we're going to understand today. Okay. Now, last September, Shanghai Cooperation Organization meet. You remember Mr. Modi had also gone there. At that time, there was this great military parade. In that military parade, you had the spectacle of Xi Jinping flanked by Putin and Kim Jong Un leading the way, and the rest of the people were following. And these people were all introduced to the old Second World War veterans and all that. And just see how Xi Jinping is strutting around behind him. Right? This was the spectacle we all saw. But is this spectacle a monolith spectacle? That's the question which comes to mind. Actually, I saw this article, this cartoon. Here he shows China, US, and South Korea, and they're standing in the center, and Kim Jong Un is running with his missiles circles around them. It is a self-explanatory. This is the problem. All three of them are stuck in this whirlpool. Okay, and when you look at it from an Indian perspective, this China, Pakistan, North Korea has been a triangle where missile technology proliferation has taken place and nuclear technology proliferation has taken place. Right? And it's very interesting to know that probably the missile technology was given by China to North Korea. North Korea gave it to Pakistan. In return, Pakistan and the AQ Khan network gave technology to North Korea. North Korea has uranium, and that uranium has probably gone to Pakistan and China. And this cozy network has prospered over years. We know that North Korea has done all this, and North Korea did all this not because Kim Jong Un was there. His grandfather, Kim Il-sung, is the guy who did all this. So you need to understand certain amount of history also. Okay. And then there's another thing. We look closely. This is North Korea. This is South Korea. This is China. And this is Russia. This is Japan. Okay. And US says it's, the Guam. Guam is here in this area where I put my... North Korea is a three-way buffer. We don't understand this. Right? For China, North Korea is the buffer between Russia and South Korea. South Korea being US. After all, US troops are in South Korea. For South Korea and US, North Korea is the buffer for China and Russia. And for Russia, North Korea is the buffer to China and US. See this triangulation here. And then there's an ideological divide and triangulation which says China, Russia, and North Korea historically have been together. And the apex or the arrowhead of this communist leaning ideology or the leftist leaning ideology, call it what you want, the arrowhead is North Korea. On the other hand is South Korea with the capitalist ideology and think with USA, Japan. So you see this thing here. So you see virtually the triangle is here. And we have to understand this triangle, how they overlap. It's not as if it is not separate, they overlap. And how North Korea has survived in the center of this two triangles. That's the fascinating story. Okay. Now you have to understand one more thing, that this is a confluence of 4 nuclear powers today. China, Russia, North Korea, and USA at Guam. Of course, it's a Pacific power. That's okay. And there are 2 aspiring nuclear powers. You're looking at South Korea and Japan. So you see this complication. Then you look at the animosities between them. Japan is one country which had colonized North Korea and China and this part of Russia, the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 area and all that. Right? And Japan and Russia have a problem on this Sakhalin Island. This is the Sakhalin Island, which is Russian territory. So Japan has issues with North Korea.
The disputed islands are called Kuril Islands. I thought the disputed thing called Kuril Islands.
Yeah. The disputed thing is Kuril Island. Also the Sakhalin thing. Okay. Now, the Kuril Islands are the southernmost part of the Sakhalin Islands. Right. The thing is that, so Japan has problems with North Korea, it got problems with China and Russia. China has problems with now South Korea, it has got problems with Japan, it has got problems with Taiwan, and we know this angle. And North Korea is sitting in the center of all this. And here, of course, Russia is there. Russia is balancing between Japan and China, with North Korea as the buffer, and at one end there's South Korea. So you see all these powers are balancing each other. Okay. So if you have to understand all this, we have to understand this. Look at this map. You know, we'll keep playing. I'll catch on to it. Now, Korea was occupied. I'm going to tell a story from here on. All right. The slides are just the thing for you to get the macro picture. Korea was occupied by Japan much before World War II. In fact, Korea was a colony of Japan. So was the Manchurian area of China, large parts of China, and large parts of Russia. They had a lot of battles and all. I'll not go into that. So what happens when 1944, after the Hiroshima Nagasaki thing, and Japan has started giving up its colonies. So in 1948, much like what happened in West Germany, East Germany, the East Germany was occupied by the Russian troops and West Germany was occupied by the rest of the allies. And they became two different countries. Isn't it? Same thing happened here. The Russians came from the north and the Americans came from the south. And it was not the 38th parallel, something close to the 38th parallel. This was the Russian-controlled Korea. And this was the US-controlled Korea, which became South Korea and North Korea. Now, in 1950, right, North Korea, supported by Soviet Union and China, invaded South Korea. And all that was left was this much only here, what I'm showing. Maybe I'll just show you when this comes. It will come. Yeah. Now from here you see, this is how they came. And this was the only part of South Korea which was with the Americans. And that was when MacArthur did the Incheon landings here. And they outflanked the North Korean forces which were backed by Soviet Russia and China. And they wrapped up and they went back. And as they went back up to the Yalu River. Here. This is the Yalu River. And this is China. And this is Russia here. So let's see where this map goes back. It's going to be a little slow because I'm going to follow. Yeah, it went down here. When it went there, what happened was China got sucked into this battle. Till then, China was not actively involved. It was North Korea backed by Soviet Russia. And China pushed back this whole thing and the whole story froze at the 38th parallel. And this is where they are. As of now, the relation between North Korea and South Korea is that there is an armistice. Armistice means theoretically or rather legally, there's no end to the war. The war is still on. Armistice is then not firing at each other. Along the 38th parallel, they have put fences. And if you go to that place, they have something called a demilitarized zone. From South Korea, you can see North Korea and vice versa. It's very near and everything. So this is where they are at this point of time. Now here comes the twist and here comes the tail. Now go back into time. Yeah, when China got involved in North Korea and in the Korean Peninsula, what happened? That's the interesting part. And this is where Stalin played a game, which people don't understand. What did Stalin do? By supporting, North Korea, and especially as the American troops advanced to the north and came on the Yalu River, China's sovereignty and territorial integrity and all that was threatened. Remember, it is 1949 that China declares or PRC comes into existence. At that time, there's a civil war on within China. The communist forces are kicking out Chiang Kai-shek's forces into Taiwan. 49, he went into Taiwan. 51, China gets involved in this war. And China gets involved in the war. Why? Because when the American forces were wrapping up the North Korean forces backed by USSR, USSR stepped back. Very coolly, they went out of the equation. And it was left for China to defend against the Americans. Mao got worried because if the Americans crossed Yalu and wrapped up North Korea, the game was up for Mao. So Mao was compelled to defend Kim Il-sung. Kim Il-sung was the guy who this chap's grandfather, Kim Jong Un's grandfather. Now, the moment this happened, you see how Stalin played. The moment China got involved in the Korean peninsula, it could not pursue Chiang Kai-shek into Taiwan. And from then to now, it has not gone. Now, the next thing which happened was Mao's son was killed in the war. In this war somewhere. I'll not go into the details of that. He got killed. As a result, the succession line in China got disrupted. And Mao became more erratic after that. As a result, Mao started internalizing. Otherwise, you might have seen Mao's grandson in chair today, just like in South Korea. What's happened? The dynasty is Kim Il-sung, followed by Kim Jong Un, and then this fellow. Right? Now, this resulted in the failure to destroy Mao's existential enemy. Mao's existential enemy was not Korea and US. It was actually Chiang Kai-shek, who was sitting in Taiwan. And he was the one, Taiwan, it was used to be called the Republic of China at that point of time, ROC. And ROC was the one which had the seat in UN, if you go back in time. And so Mao couldn't go and challenge him. Now, the next thing which happened was the moment the Chinese went and started defending North Koreans, the Americans reinforced their defense, or rather support, to South Korea. Now, what did Stalin achieve by this? If someone will say, what did Stalin achieve? Stalin put China in knots. On one side, he couldn't capture Taiwan and extinguish the problem of Chiang Kai-shek, which he was in a position to do so then. He might have done, because Chiang Kai-shek himself was weak. On the other hand, China had to fight now against Americans, in which case the Chinese and the Americans will not get together. And Russia is safe. See this play. This is the most important thing. And go back a couple of years, the Chinese and the Americans were good friends. They fought the World War together. Today, when Xi Jinping says that, we are the victors of the Second World War, it was because the Chinese Communist Party and Chiang Kai-shek together supported America in its fight against Japan. So, Stalin didn't want China and USA to get together. So he succeeded. That got reversed only in 1972. Just think, from 1950 to 1972, 22 years, Stalin's hidden hand was always there, which kept China and USA apart. It was only Nixon's visit in 72 which reversed the whole thing. And here again, Pakistan comes into the play, because Pakistan was the one who midwifed this. So all this story is going on, right? And India is sitting in its corner and doing nothing. Okay. So this is what Stalin's play is. Now let's look at the Korean history. Now Kim Il-sung, he became the first ruler of North Korea in 1948. and he established a totalitarian regime which was fundamentally based on communism. It is based on communism. And today, China it talks of, we are all communist brothers. Okay. Oh, Kim Il-sung ruled till 1994, 48 to 94. 46 years, backed by Russia in a large level, and China. Later, China was forced to back Kim Il-sung. And it was under Kim Il-sung's rule that Russia, the missile technology, proliferation and all that started. And initially, a lot of uranium was given by Korea to China. That thing, okay. He was the great leader. He had a personality cult. His son took over, Kim Jong Un. He took over in 1994 and he was not well, right? And he inherited this position in, 2011, he was done. He died, Kim Il-sung. And then 2011, this chap takes over, Kim Jong Un. Now there's a twist to this story. It is said, and this is where it is a little hazy. Kim Jong Un is supposed to be the son of Kim Jong Il, the second guy, through a wife who is a Korean, but not from the Korean peninsula. Through a wife who was based in Japan. She was imported. Now the Koreans are such racists, North Koreans, that she was always treated as a second-rate citizen. And so this Kim Jong Un was treated as a second-rate citizen for a long time. He was the son of a second-rate citizen in South Korea. But yet, in the palace politics of North Korea, this chap has ascended the throne. Now, having come to the throne, he has to be the first amongst equals. So he is gone on one extreme, the way he is this thing, because now he has to act against Japan to prove or disprove his lineage. Yeah,
this is like 𝗤𝗏𝗃𝗏 Bhutto. This is like 𝗤𝗏𝗃𝗏 Bhutto.
So you
in
see
case
this,
you don't know, viewers, so 1 second, sir. In case you don't know, viewers, 𝗤𝗏𝗃𝗏 Bhutto's mother was a Hindu. Sir, back to you.
Yeah. So you see this story, right? It's a it's a fascinating thing. Okay. Now let me go ahead because right. Now, interestingly again, till the 60s, North Korean economy was better than the South Korean economy. But once Soviet Union collapsed, 1991, the North Korean economy also collapsed. And it is only after 1991 that you see the China-North Korea axis getting stronger. Now China started growing by 1991, reforms in China, 4 modernizations. Deng Xiaoping saw that value of being friendly with Kim Il-sung. By then, Kim Il-sung was old, but Kim Jong-il, who's this chap's father, was okay with Deng Xiaoping, and they had a relationship, and it has grown and grown and grown. Okay, so this is the thing. And then they focused on their weapons development and everything. By 2010-11, they had nuclear capability. 2018-19, there was a 6-way peace process among all the same 6 countries which I have outlined. And that was the first time there was a Korean peace process in the way, where Kim Jong Un went to South Korea, and he had a discussion with Moon Jae-in at that time, all that. But that peace process was undercut by China. Why? They didn't want the peace process to go to a level where the Koreas unite like Germany. Because Why? There is a very interesting thing. You have to understand. If Koreas unite and the democratic part goes up, or rather, there's a regime collapse in North Korea, it means that American troops will be sitting once again on Yalu. And that is completely unacceptable to China. So China, what it does in, as part of this peace process, it allows Kim Jong Un to go to South Korea, say, okay, we'll have peace, and it undercuts it. So every move has countered by itself by everyone. Everyone makes a move, and whatever the move which is made is over the top, but underneath someone is undercutting it, they themselves are undercutting it. This is the character of this whole area. Right. And thereafter, but Kim Jong Un is smart. He's playing all of them. That's why that first thing which I showed, go back to this. He's smart. Let me be very clear. He's very smart. This, right, cartoon, he's playing all of them to his benefit. Okay. So now what happens is this, that I'll get, 2022, North Korea conducts the first ICBM test. I mean, they've had the nuclear weapons before that. The moment that happens, we know Trump also went and met this chap in Singapore, Kim Jong Un. This happened before the COVID and all that. And so there's a peace process, everything on, and Kim Jong Un starts playing with Trump and North Korea and Japan in some manner. That sends shivers to China. So China starts undercutting that relationship. And then China starts giving more aid to North Korea. Before COVID, the normal understanding is, and it is right, that North Korea is completely dependent on China. It is impoverished and all that. All this play is happening. North Korea, there's no progress. It's getting weaker and poorer by the day. Only thing North Korea has when COVID starts is its missile inventory and nuclear inventory. COVID starts and North Korea suffers, though it has never come out nothing. And North Korea is down and out on its knees. That's when Ukraine war starts. Ukraine war starts. Russia is beleaguered. That's when Mr. Putin makes an outreach to Kim Jong Un. And they become friendly. And we'll go from here ahead. Okay. So suddenly, the first instance of this is Putin goes to Kim Jong Un, convinces him to get off China, and he says, why are you getting communications from China? You take it from me. So the Chinese satellites are off, and North Korea jumps into Russian satellite system. So Kim Jong Un now finds it convenient to get off, China, because he needs leverage, and Putin was giving him the leverage. Okay, and then they go in for a defense treaty, which gets ratified. The moment that happens, North Korean soldiers go to Ukraine. It is rumored at some place it says about 11,000 soldiers went, at some place it's about 16,000 soldiers went. But soldiers did go. And some say 2,000 casualties, some say 1,000 casualties. But North Korea has suffered casualties in the Ukraine war. Immutable fact, North Korea has supplied ammunition for Russia's war effort in exchange for oil and aid. And the figures which are in public domain say that North Korea got about $6.5 billion from Russia. The moment North Korea gets this $6.5 billion, it starts producing ammunition and all that, and oil and everything. It's barter, some cash, whatever the dealings are. Because both these countries are under sanctions, remember. Right? But what happens? It gets North Korea farther away from China. And now it is being rumored that Russia has given North Korea wherewithal for a nuclear submarine and advanced missile technology. So Russia is playing a game, right? Now, of course, they're saying, North Korea is a heroic nation and all that. Now, what is the import of this action? North Korea has gone to Ukraine, fought a war, gained battle experience. And now battle experienced troops have come back to North Korea. North Korea getting technology from Russia. So any threat to North Korea can be tackled by these experienced troops. Whereas on the southern side, South Korea has not fought any battle, nor has China fought a battle. Please understand this dynamic. Right? Now, North Korea is in a stronger position because its economy has recovered thanks to Ukraine war. It has battle hardened, and in the process, it has got technology, and also it has tested its ICBM 22. So you see this play, not how Kim Jong Un has strengthened himself. He's pulled North Korea out of dire situation of COVID, and he's become the next great leader. Today, people in North Korea say that he has done what his grandfather couldn't do. As a result, he sealed his dynasty also. He is slowly introducing his daughter into the play. And I believe in this now Xi's trip to Korea, North Korea, his daughter has been introduced to Xi Jinping. So he doesn't have a son. That's what I believe. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. But his daughter, who's the eldest, is now getting into the play. He's also brought his sister into the play. Okay. Now, in all this, China starts this other triangle of North Korea, Russia, and China against the West, against South Korea, against Taiwan, against, the whole thing. In this, what I've not added is that Iran is also taken in, the 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗧 alliance. So you're talking of China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea forming an alliance. So when all these interplay is happening between them, all these three people are doing a play against the world or the Western areas. I wouldn't say against the world, but a lot of these equations have been broken. And that is why the focus is back on this peninsula. Please understand. The fact that North Korea has said we will not give up on nuclear weapons is what I've explained to you, and this whole story is on. And in between, remember, now there's another bilateral going on between USA and North Korea, where, like I said earlier, Trump has met Kim Jong Un in Singapore just before COVID. Nothing came out of it, but there's a door which is left not closed. That door is not closed. And part of the reason why China is going there is to open the door. Again, it's a two-way thing, whether China would like to open the door fully or ensure that as the door opens, there's a trap door underneath. So everyone is playing a game with the other there. This is the intriguing part. It's not a straight line. Why India, Pakistan, we hate you, they hate us. Oh, do bomb maro and 4 days op Sindoor is over. I say nahi hai yahan. Because everything is nuclear out here. Right. Then of course, there is this US, Japan, Australia, the larger Indo-Pacific construct, which is also in play. And then there's this Japan, US, South Korea, trilaterals, all this. So a whole lot of things are in play. And remember, at one corner of this is Taiwan. The Taiwan problem is still alive. It's not gone anywhere. Till such time, Xi Jinping and China are involved in the Korean peninsula, they can't go into Taiwan. And this is what Putin has done. Whether you like it or not, why Putin has done also, I'll come to it. Now, what is, right, how does China see the Russia-North Korea axis? This is the important thing. Now, like I said earlier, North Korea is the single greatest beneficiary of the Ukraine war. In exchange for weapons and troops, which it gave, It has Russian technology in missile and nuclear capabilities. Now, this entire equation between Russia and North Korea has created a few serious issues for China. Now, the moment, it's natural. The moment people have perceived that North Korea is being supported by Russia, it has alarmed South Korea and Japan. So they have started arming themselves. The moment they start arming themselves, whom does it affect? It affects China. It not only affects North Korea, it affects China also. Now they are all worried if, even China is worried that North Korea will become Eastern Belarus. What is Belarus? Belarus is that strike point, hard point going east, going west for China, for Russia. So China is worried that will North Korea become a Belarus? And that Belarus can strike anywhere. That is where the value of Belarus comes for Russia in there. Maybe one of these days I'll explain that separately. Okay, this is a problem. If North Korea becomes an Eastern Belarus, it would pose a threat to Beijing. And it will pose a greater threat to China than China poses a threat to Russian interests in Siberia. Remember this, that China also wants to get back Siberia. There's another, because they feel that a large part of Siberia was stripped of them by Tsarist Russia. And they have started populating Siberian cities, Chinese. There's a population inversion going on there. And Putin doesn't have the troops to guard Siberia. So what does he do? Because Putin fears Siberian invasion by China, he has helped North Korea and weaned North Korea away from China. See this angles which are, you're not audible. Yeah, you have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
What a tangled web we weave. There's a famous expression.
Yeah. So you see this, how Russia, all that. Now the thing is, neither Russia nor North Korea will give up their relationship, despite the fact that both of them depend on China. See this, again, China is actually subsidizing North Korea and Russia. We all know, you go to any Western commentator, he will say, oh, because China has helped Russia, Russia has survived the Ukraine war, isn't it? Now, because North Korea has helped Russia, Russia has survived the Ukraine war. And because North Korea and Russia are good friends and they're getting equal benefit from each other, they will not, China can't have a thing. So you see this, there's an interplay between these three also. Right. Now, in this whole story, China is getting squeezed because of Russia. The same squeeze, today Putin is doing what Stalin did on China then.
Because history repeats.
History repeats. Now, this is the interesting part. Because now Xi Jinping has to focus on North Korea, who's increasing its missile capability from 50 warheads to 90 warheads. He has to focus that side. He can't go into Taiwan. For India, if he can't go into Taiwan, he can't come to India also. Now, you just think, I've been saying why North Korea is the most dangerous problem for China. Now, I hope today I've been able to deconstruct this and put it in perspective. China's fundamental aim might be to go to Taiwan, but can it go to Taiwan with the way Putin is? The way Putin, I'll come to that. This is the interesting part. Putin is giving, injection into North Korea to make it up. Now, whether North Korea might be our friend today, but it's still got 90 warheads, and this everyone is, finders keepers, and you're on your own. Those 90 warheads on the North Korean peninsula destabilize China. Right? Yes, sir. Your views now.
So we also know what China is going to aim for after Taiwan. That's Singapore. There have been some noises made in Singapore about the blood connect between China and Singapore. Here, Singapore is a Chinese majority city-state. There are Malays, there are Tamils, and perhaps others also of Indian origin. But it's a Chinese majority city-state. How did China become a majority? It's a long story again. We'll take a look at it. General Shankar knows about this well. So China wants to keep on doing this. Their salamis are like Taiwan, then Singapore, and who knows what else next. Sir, back to you.
They want to do. They've already come to Tibet. They want Arunachal Pradesh. That's very clear what they want. They want Arunachal Pradesh. But so what? There's another underlying. Xi Jinping has today gone to North Korea to do something, about this missile systems and nuclear thing, in which North Korea, they want to control it. But at the same time, he also wants to sponsor a dialogue between North Korea and USA. ये भी है, because he can't handle North Korea. He wants USA to handle North Korea. Give him money. What will USA do? Trump will say, "I'll give you money." So he feels that if North Korea gets money, the pressure will go off. But if North Korea gets money and tomorrow it becomes prosperous, and a prosperous North Korea and a prosperous South Korea decide they will become friends, China is in problem. So China is getting squeezed. Yeah, this is the fact there. What happens in the case of a regime collapse in North Korea tomorrow? I keep saying this again and again. Tomorrow. That's one way of looking at it. Tomorrow, if North Korea becomes prosperous and then this guy goes and there's a problem there, South Korea will move in. So if North Korea becomes prosperous, it's a problem for China. If North Korea remains as it is, it's a problem for China. Whichever way you look at it, China is getting squeezed, and till such time North Korea is in this condition, this state, China really can't go into Taiwan. Okay, so there is a huge thing which we have to understand the dynamic. I know not many people will watch this program today. I understand, but those who are not watching it are not understanding the actual dynamic, the larger dynamic which is going on. Why China needs North Korea? Have we said? North Korea is the neighbor China can neither control nor afford to lose. That's the first thing. You can't lose it, you can't control it. China wants stability on its border and influence in North Korea without being dragged into the crises triggered by its nuclear ambitions. China is very worried about the increasing relationship between Russia and Korea. Now, they're also worried if there is a expanding relationship between North Korea and Russia, and if there's this triangle of North Korea, Russia, and China increase, it will result in upping the ante in South Korea and Japan and USA, that inverted triangles which I showed. That is also they're worried. And if the regime collapse takes place, it's a Chinese nightmare. Let me tell you this, I keep repeating, it's right. As North Korea's nuclear program increases, US has no choice but to involve itself more in this area through Japan and North Korea. That means the US presence at the doorstep of China. See, if North Korea has more nuclear weapons, South Korea will say, I want also. And already there are a couple of surveys done, which has indicated more than 70% of the people have responded in South Korea saying we should go nuclear. The day that happens, China will stop bothering about India. Let me also tell you this. So in a way, North Korea is doing us a favor. Right? See, again, if China takes a strong action against North Korea and pushes it too far, where will it push North Korea? Into Putin's arms? Yeah, so the whole story is intertwined, and you see Putin is laughing his way all around. So Putin has stymied China. Putin has this thing. Now Putin is free to talk of RIC. And for the first time yesterday, China has said, "Oh, we are also interested in RIC." Why is all this happening? You have to understand our own situation. Look, folks, I am very clear that no one will do this analysis the way I am doing. What are Kim's problems? If war in Ukraine ends, Russia's need for North Korean support could diminish. So Z still matters for him. Usko paisa chahiye bhai. See the angle. Now we'll look at it from the North Korean point of view. North Korea's main source of import is China. So China's exports to North Korea have surged in the past 1 year. It's in the highest level in the past 6 years. Train services have resumed. So Kim needs China. Kim needs the other way also. Now, Kim Jong Un cannot negotiate with USA and South Korea without Beijing's backing. Ye bhi hai. He can't go directly and say, because then Beijing will pull the string. Everyone has got everyone's string. Okay. Kim wants Chinese protection, but he doesn't want control. It's the other way of what China wants. China wants control, right? Okay. Now, North Korea gets most of its imports from China, including fuel, food, electronics, machinery, vehicles, and textiles. So hence, Beijing has significant influence. So you see that this area is bound by old histories. It is bound by trade. It is bound by animosities. It is bound by increasing defense expenditure. And that makes it the biggest flashpoint going around. Just to put it in context, Japan has increased its defense expenditure by 9.7% in the last 1 year. And it is going to increase it further. And if those two countries, Japan and South Korea, become nuclear, then China has a huge problem in hand. I'll come back to the map a little later. Now, North Korea has frozen out the South and US for several years now, and it is focusing on Moscow because it feels Moscow is the safety wall. Now, South Korea also is there in the game. It is hoping Xi Jinping will nudge Pyongyang towards opening towards. So South Korea also has agencies, so does Japan. So you have to understand that all this is there. So when everyone says Xi Jinping is going to North Korea, he is going to take an aspirin for the headaches he's got. They got a lot of headaches. China has got a lot of headaches. Okay. Now you look at this map. Again, I'm not going to show anything except the map. See the issues now in this area. How intricate each of them are. Okay. The three-way buffer and this triangle. Now, this is a knot which is getting, more nuclear. It is just not trade. It is ethnicity, it is racism, it is nuclear, it is ambitions. Everything is at stake here. And what happens here has repercussions in the West. And that is why we must understand and know that Xi Jinping's first visit outside the Chinese mainland, his first visit is to North Korea in a year. And he's just hopped, he'll hop back. And Xi Jinping is going nowhere. And we have to understand this dynamic as to how to handle Xi Jinping and China. Sir, I'm sorry I didn't allow you to speak because this is a very complicated thing. I'm sure you understood. If you could now come in and please speak what you want.
So a lot of things have happened. How did North Korea get nuclear enabled? The story goes like this. Benazir Bhutto, in one of her foreign trips, goes and shops for a huge Russian jacket like the big, it's called great jacket or something like that. I mean, it comes up to your knees and a little bit beyond that. You have to be able to survive the Russian cold. And she stuffed it with CDs containing the designs for the nuclear weapon, and she traveled to North Korea because she didn't want America to know that this was going to happen. So right under the nose of the Americans, these guys have done this. That is AQ Khan Labs. Guy was a real master at selling something that he did not have, which is the atomic weapon. You have to read this book called The Nuclear Jihadist. The Nuclear Jihadist. Read it, it's fascinating. This is like AQ Khan ke 𝗓𝗏𝗏, and in one of the chapters is this. So the point I'm trying to make is all these people have something that they think is nuclear until they, of course, you can't say it's a proven bomb unless you use it somewhere, which means it's going to cause death and destruction. So let's not hope for that. But these are all like various levels of completion. So they have uranium, they know how to enrich it because they got the centrifuge technology from AQ Khan Labs or Khan Research Labs. And again, there, Pakistan has this wink-wink, nod-nod relationship. Pakistan has its own Atomic Energy Authority, PAEA, and that is the official Pakistani Nuclear Energy Development Agency. KRL is more like hands-off. If they did it, I don't know, I didn't know that. So that sort of stuff. And they knew fully what AQ Khan was up to because they probably also borrowed some of those designs. So a lot of proliferation has already happened. Now for US to start thinking, worrying, oh my God, if North Korea also becomes nuclear, what happens to us? I don't know. I think people have to, realize that this is where every 190 countries, right? We are only at 10. It's a long way to go. Sorry to be laughing about a serious matter. What I'm trying to say is somehow people feel like once they have the nuclear weapon that they're indestructible. Are they? What happened in Kirana? What happened in Chagai Hills? Sir, back to you.
Then I go with you completely. Let me go. I'm going to take on a lot of diverse questions because the topic is like that. Yeah. Okay. The first is, of course, what does China fear more today? US containment, Russia overreach, or North Korean unpredictability? Is China's interest in North Korea only to engage USA and keep a strategic buffer zone? Yeah, you take a shot at it. I'll
all of the above.
All of it. That's the thing which I've said.
Yes.
China is in a pickle. Please understand, I'll take this opportunity to talk the larger issue of China. China has a huge problem for not anything happening in North Korea. Remember, is an existential problem for China. I'm making this point very clearly. And this existential problem will come from, you have a look at the map, right? You will understand this better. This point where I've shown is next to Beijing. Across this Bohai Sea is Beijing. This is hardly 400-500 kilometers. What is 400-500 kilometers in today's context of missiles? Hardly anything. It's a BrahMos missile range. Right? So there's a major problem which China faces, and that is the crux you have to understand. And Russia is not overreached. Russia is playing a very measured hand in this. You have to give it to Putin, and that is why I don't trust this RIC which is coming out of Russia. And now Russia has convinced China, and China has started talking of RIC. In the course of this week, we'll talk, and I'll get back to this because we have to understand China's position. We have a known problem with Russia, but India should not become Russia's pawn. Please understand that. We should not become Russia's pawn. We should not become US pawn. And Russia is playing this game. And why is Russia playing this game? Russia has now reached out to not only to Pakistan, it has also reached out to Bangladesh. So it's not benign. And Putin on one hand says, or India is a power which cannot be, no one can tell India to do what it wants to do and all that. So Russia is playing a game. And why is it playing that game is something we have to understand. It has to survive Ukraine. Right?
The other
So
interesting thing is in the recent trip that Putin took to, I think, where did he go last? He went to China, right? Yeah, he went to China. So you won't believe this. Just like, Trump got his own bath water, the water that he was going to take bath in. Putin collects his feces also. He doesn't let anybody else get near even his excrement. So these are all very interesting people, sir.
Ask what specific military and economic cooperation has developed between North Korea and Russia that concerns China. That I've explained to you. I'll reiterate. One is manpower. North Korea provides manpower to Russia, especially in Ukraine. And, ammunition. North Korea gives ammunition to Russia. North Korea has even given artillery to Russia, and it gets money. I've told you they've earned about $6.5 billion. Right? So there is a huge thing. Then Russia, it is learned, has given latest missile technology to North Korea. For a long time, it was understood that the North Korean missiles were there. It was like a pataka. We don't know. It'll go up. We don't know it'll come down or not. And where it'll come down. That was the thing. But today, North Korean missiles and their ammunition are becoming more precise. And that precision capability has come from Russia.
Well, you're seeing that in Iran. You're seeing it in action in the Iran war. Some of that stuff is North Korean missiles that they've got. Sir.
Okay, and North Korea makes money out of this proliferation. Iran will give it money. Everyone will give it money. For all you know, they might go, Pakistan might go to them. So it's all money. The friendship is one part, the economic cooperation is the other. Okay. Morning, sir. Vibes of 1989. General Secretary Zhao Ziyang went to North Korea in April 89 in the backdrop of Tiananmen Square protests. Afterwards, Deng and Lee initiated PLA crackdown. Look, this is one part of the story, Harsh. But the fundamental thing is, at that point, North Korea didn't matter as much to China as it is today. China was going through internal problems, and hence it needed North Korea's support at that time. And you're talking of 89-90 when Kim Il-sung was still alive. And that fellow was the original dictator, the great dictator. So this is a whole thing which, unless you understand the history of this, it's very difficult. I'm thankful you brought it out. Yeah, in Potsdam conference, Truman told Stalin, we've detonated a nuclear weapon. Stalin gave a cold response. Truman thought that Stalin understand what's a nuke, but Stalin already knew from 1943. Look, probably Stalin is one of the most underrated personalities, global personalities. We talk of everyone else, but I think Stalin dominated many things the way things happened. But for Stalin's ruthlessness, World War II wouldn't have been won by the Allies and Russia. He was ruthless in what he did. And he was ruthless and cold in all his dealings with all countries. Yeah, you wanted to come in,
Yeah, so Stalin was so ruthless that some of his able generals also got killed. Anybody who seemed like even a remote possibility of a threat to him, finished.
Yeah. Sir. There's a story about Stalin. It's not a story, it's true. No one used to disturb Stalin. Stalin would get up in the morning and then call for his coffee or tea or whatever he had first thing in the morning. And then only then people could get into his room, his servants and all that. One day Stalin didn't wake up. No one dared enter his room.
3 days.
3 days. When the smell started coming, only then they went and realized, they confirmed that bhaiya ye mar gaya. They went in. That is the true story about Stalin.
There's a movie called Death of Stalin. Very, very funny. Watch it, viewers.
Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, the thumbnail is crazy. Thanks a lot. Okay. Is it possible that since Japan is now taking an aggressive posture, China will put North Korea against it as they park against us? Your view?
I don't think so. The reason is Japan has a lot of stuff in its arsenal. It doesn't even need United States help for a lot of the things that it will have to have. Like, they have this focus on efficiency and manufacturing, and they can do things very, very quickly. I don't think North Korea would go against them. And China,
No, they have gone
even if
against them.
China puts it up, I don't think it's going to work, sir.
No, North Korea has already fired missiles against Japan.
That's been known for like every third year or second year they'll go and do something, and they'll go even across and past the thing.
Yeah. So the point is that there's a problem there. Everything in this area of North Korea, South Korea, Japan, China, Russia, and USA in this, 6 powers which are hanging around there. Everything has a pro and a con. It has got a upper layer and a lower layer. There's nothing straight here. Okay. Why is Malacca a major checkpoint like Hormuz when ships can reroute around Australia if it is blocked? Yeah, just think going 10,000 kilometers to avoid a strait. What will be the economic implications of that?
No, Tarun, it's not just that. See, what happens is you want calm waters for these oil tankers to sail through. You don't want, choppy waters. If you go into the outside of these islands and go like the Pacific Ocean, right? The waters are not that easy to navigate.
Yeah. It's difficult. So you can't go 10,000 kilometers around Australia and come into the Indian Ocean. Right? If that is the case, if you got to go across, then you might as well go down, go to the Magellan Strait and get in. Magellan Strait is around the southern tip of South America. Okay. The new godfather that North Korea can trust is China, Russia, and not pawnbroker China. Now, this North Korean fellow is able to trust Russia, not pawnbroker. Look, don't get involved with all this, but just understand that Kim Jong Un is playing his own game. As far as we understand that, the rest is QED. Your view on this?
Very true. Very true. See, like General Shankar said, each has an upper bound and a lower bound, and everybody wants to contain those things. Everybody wants to be containing the other people in those bounds. And I think to some extent, North Korea has broken the upper bound that China had put against it by switching satellites and also, monetarily benefiting. Yeah. Also, viewers, there's an interesting thing here. I think there's a small area where the borders of Russia and North Korea also meet. In other words, Russia can do the same thing that China is doing, like ship arms and other things and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
There is a land connect.
Yeah. Where I put my thing,
right there. Yeah, there's a land connect.
Yeah, there's a land connect. Any case, a small hop. You have to just to reinforce what Sree Iyer is saying. You see, this is China. The northeastern part of China is landlocked. It does not have opening to the Sea of Japan, whereas North Korea and Russia have a opening to the Sea of Japan with a small border, land border. In any case, Vladivostok to here is very easy. Okay, so you find that that is why North Korea and Russia can't be cut off. Yeah, back to you. Anything
next
else?
One, please.
Yeah, next one. Crick. What about Pakistan? They'll want to join too, of course. Then it will become a prick. From a crick, it will become a prick. Okay, and then they're already there in that thing. We have to be very clear about this crick and prick and all that. So, where does USA stand here in this? And where do the relations between the Field Marshal and Trump go in this. This is what you have to understand. Okay. Very fascinating world of skullduggery. That's how it is. In fact, we are in a very reasonably straight world. Kuril Islanders refused to join Japan in a referendum some time ago. Yeltsin allowed the referendum. That's okay. That's part of the thing. We're not. Beautiful analysis and presentation, sir. We don't get to learn this info after reading 2 or more books. Yeah, that's why.
More like 20, my friend.
That's why I keep saying, please come, get your friends to this channel. Because unless we understand this whole story, you don't know how to handle things in India. Now, maybe you start understanding why I say that China is no more your greatest threat. It is enemy
Right.
number one, will not go out. But when I say China can't attack us, China can't attack us. I'm telling you now today. Right? Why China can't attack us is these reasons. People don't understand this. And sometime either tomorrow or day after, I'm going to talk now. I'll go to shift focus. You see, this what's happening in Pakistan, what's happening in this thing is something which is normal. वो तो चलता रहेगा. We don't, as Indians, or if China is your enemy number one, which it is, okay, we need to understand what's happening of China. What are the problems confronting China? Why is Xi Jinping rushing to North Korea as his first trip of this year, and no one else? People will think it's a small thing, but it's his biggest problem. And the next biggest problem is those 4 or 5 islands which are around. We'll talk of that. We'll talk of the first island chain again. We'll talk of Philippines. We'll talk of everything tomorrow or day after, so that this story which I've told you today doesn't go out of focus. Okay. Sir, I'm interested to know your opinion when Russia can turn the tide against Ukraine. Yeah, your view.
It's actually the other way around, my friend. Delta, Wisconsin. See, Ukraine has found something for which Russia does not have an answer yet. And until that imbalance happens, Ukraine is going to start making some strides. In fact, there are videos on social media. See, what Russia has done is Russia has taken out the basic communication infrastructure inside Ukraine. Like, you pick up the phone and talk to somebody, that part is all not there. So what Ukraine has figured out now, I'm told, is they have got fiber optic operated drones. Very, very thin fiber optic cable. So that connects the drone with a launcher. So they can give the commands based on what they are seeing on the earth, on the ground situation. This is all really, really new technology. Then one can wonder, come on now, how long can the fiber optic cable last? But somebody showed a picture of millions of cables all in the night line. You can see the light reflecting on the fiber optic cable. They are trying this. So maybe it is from this side to the other side where it's very close to the line of warfare. Maybe that they can do that. But certainly there is something new that Ukraine is doing for which Russia is not able to tackle it. They've even launched a couple of Orychniks to try and stop Ukraine. I think Ukraine is at this point, it's like, we are going, but we will also take you down with us. That sort of an attitude, sir.
Yeah, Russia can't turn the tide against Ukraine unless it makes peace with people. Let's be very clear today. Yeah. And I've been talking of it. I've done 2 podcasts on Russia-Ukraine war. And I think today Russia is on the back foot and it will not come out. And that is one of the reasons why Russia is speaking of 𝗏𝗏𝗏 and all that. Please understand this connect which is happening. Don't be surprised if Russia goes and fingers North Korea to do something. Yeah. If US feels the pressure there, they'll react here. These are all connected. Okay. Yeah, Gurujis, I love your podcast as both it is mellow and deep. Thanks a lot for your compliment. Yeah, this is what we want to do. We don't want to be, what shall I say, raving and ranting, or rather telling you that, what shall I say, India will kill Pakistan and Pakistan the end, and China has imploded. All that is nonsense. Okay, we have to be practical and pragmatic in what we do in life. Okay, I got my LPG cylinder in 60 hours, impressed with delivery time considering the issues. Well, I think it's still late. Let me be very honest. Today, LPG delivery in India is not more than 48 hours. Not more than. You got it 12 hours late, but still it's good. Your view, sir?
That's very good. It's not an easy situation right now. LPG and LNG is what we had identified. LPG is the biggest challenge for India. LNG is the next one. And only then after that is petrol. And because crude is coming into India, it can refine petrol, diesel, kerosene, aviation kerosene. All those will happen. But LPG, they don't have it the way they were getting it from the Gulf area. So that's good. That is the most concerning item.
Okay, and last, Malika, thanks a lot for your compliment. And that's it. Anything else you want to say, Sree Iyerji? Otherwise, we'll.
No, sir. We live in interesting times. That's a Chinese saying again, and it is very true. Everywhere, people are feeling the pressure that they are not able to keep up to a certain status quo, which is what everybody is aiming for. It includes in the United States also, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much, sir. As always, a pleasure to be on the
Thanks a lot
podcast.
and have a great time, and good morning or good evening or good day to wherever you are, and Jai Hind to all of you.